What's up guys, this is VinylicPuma, back with another Fallout 76 video, and today I figured I'd make a video talking about some of my worries and concerns with the next game in the Fallout franchise. Now, before we start, this video will be going over some rumors about Fallout 76, in addition to some concerns I had with Fallout 4 that could ultimately end up popping up in Fallout 76. As always, this video is speculative, and it's entirely possible that Fallout 76 is a truly wonderful and phenomenal game that has no problems or fixes a lot of the flaws that Fallout 4 had. So don't worry, none of this is guaranteed to happen, but I am a little bit worried that some of it could happen. Also, if you think there was something I missed, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, let's go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room, and those are the rumors and leaks that Fallout 76 is going to be an online game. Now, it seems like this information is changing every day at this point, but this leak/information originates from Jason Schreier of Kotaku, and in an article, he mentioned that Fallout 76 was going to be an online survival RPG in the veins of something like Rust, DayZ, or Ark Survival Evolved. However, since his initial leak, Jason Schreier has taken to Reddit to r/Fallout to further clarify some information on this leak by saying the following. I've seen a lot of rage and confusion and denial on this subreddit, so I just wanted to chime in to say a couple of things. One is that after publishing my story, I heard from a few other sources, in addition to the 3 mentioned in the article, corroborating that Fallout 76 is an online game. If you're still really in denial, I guess you can wait until June 10th, but hey, don't say I didn't tell you. The second thing is that I'm very optimistic about this game. The buzz I'm hearing, both first and second hand, is that it's really cool, interesting, and just as story-focused as any other Bethesda Game Studios game. It might have multiplayer and base building, but hey, it's still a Fallout game. I don't want to drive hype for a game I haven't seen or played, but I also don't want people to be so close-minded that they spend the next 9 days freaking out every day on Reddit because this game isn't going to be like the last 3. Of course, and then in his Deal Dear, he says, yes, Fallout 76 is going to be a multiplayer RPG. No, that's not automatically a bad thing. Just like all of you, I'm stoked to see the game on June 10th, and I'm optimistic that it's going to be really cool. Now, something I think we have to consider is that Jason Schreier was definitely putting his reputation on the line by publishing this leak about Fallout 76 being an online survival RPG. And while it's looking like his initial story isn't entirely accurate, it does appear that he was right that Fallout 76 will have some kind of multiplayer component. Obviously, the inclusion of online multiplayer is a massive concern for a lot of fans out there, as Bethesda Game Studios single-player RPGs are pretty much an institution at this point. Not to mention that Fallout 76's teaser trailer didn't really give us any indication that Fallout 76 was going to be anything other than a spin-off of Fallout 4 that's set in a brand new location and potentially a previous time period. Changing the series so radically would be crazy and risks the potential of alienating a lot of fans, sort of like The Elder Scrolls Online did. What seems to be the case here is that we're probably actually getting a Fallout 4 spin-off that's mostly single-player focused with optional multiplayer modes. After all, BATTLECRY Studios, who is now Bethesda Game Studios Austin, worked on the multiplayer component of Doom 2016, and it's possible that they were absorbed by Bethesda to work on Fallout 76's multiplayer component. Ultimately, I think the good thing is that now we know that Fallout 76 is probably not going to be an online survival RPG like Rust or Ark Survival Evolved. However, at the same time, I am a little concerned because this is Bethesda Game Studios' first foray really into online, and we just have no idea how that's going to go. While we're on the subject of Fallout 76 potentially being an online multiplayer game, we should probably talk about what that game's mod support would be like. Now, there are great examples of games like Minecraft, Rust, or Ark Survival Evolved that can greatly benefit from having both online multiplayer in addition to some great mod support by allowing the community to host their own dedicated servers. However, with a lot of multiplayer games, other developers don't allow for dedicated servers to be set up, and thus, modding is entirely banned, as modding is considered cheating and negatively affects the online multiplayer experience. I think two great examples of this are both Borderlands and Dark Souls. Originally with Borderlands 2, Gearbox was very supportive of the modding community and didn't mind players making their own tools, as none would be provided by the developer themselves. However, over time, many in the community complained about modding, and eventually discussion of it ultimately got banned on the official forums. As for Dark Souls 1 on PC featured a bunch of mods which could allow players to swap bonfire placements or create entirely new game modes. However, PC players tried to do something similar for Dark Souls 2, and many found out that they were banned as a result. The reason listed was of course because modding/cheating negatively affects the online multiplayer experience. Now, on the one hand, I get why developers do this. After all, they don't want someone coming into someone else's game and griefing them using some kind of mod or cheat, which would cause that player to stop playing. However, in each case where both of these franchises could have developed thriving modding communities, the modding community was ultimately wiped out to satisfy the online multiplayer component. As this pertains to Fallout 76, it's certainly possible that Bethesda thought all of this out and will provide players with the option to set up their own dedicated servers. However, it's equally possible that Bethesda will be the only company hosting their own servers, and thus, they will decide what you get to do on them. Perhaps they will be very lenient with modding and they'll be open to it, or perhaps they won't. However, I can guarantee if Fallout 76 has an online PvP component, modding-related features and even the game's console commands will be locked down to satisfy that multiplayer component. We're going to have to wait until E3 and for Bethesda to tell us more about what Fallout 76 actually is, but for now, we can only hope that Bethesda will take great care to preserve the modding community, and if online functionality is in the next game, hopefully Bethesda will allow us to set up dedicated servers. Another concern I have with Fallout 76 is when it comes to microtransactions and DLC. Fallout 4 Season Pass was pretty infamous as Bethesda Game Studios originally announced it for $30, only to increase the price to $50 before any Season Pass content was announced. I think a lot of us originally thought that we were going to get a far more substantial amount of content to justify that price increase, when in actuality, we mostly just got 3 settlement DLCs. Granted, we did get Far Harbor and Nuka World, which were good, however, I think a lot of us were pretty underwhelmed by the whole Season Pass. Especially since previous Fallout games like Fallout 3 and even New Vegas had awesome quest DLCs that added new locations, NPCs, and weapons. As for microtransactions, while many don't like the Creation Club, as the actual product you're buying are the credits/points rather than the actual items that are being made by the Creation Club content creators, the one advantage the player had is that they could simply ignore the Creation Club if they chose to do so. However, I wonder if Fallout 76 will make the microtransactions more mandatory or design the game in a way to entice players to purchase them. This is a fear a lot of us have, since a lot of AAA games these days seem to be going this route, and games that didn't have microtransactions before, like Middle-earth: Shadow of War, now seem to have online functionality to justify this particular monetization system. Ultimately, my hope is that Bethesda does better with Fallout 76's Season Pass this time around, and if Fallout 76 must have microtransactions, I just hope that they are purely cosmetic and don't actually affect the game's progression. Aside from flaws with Fallout 4's microtransactions and DLC, I wonder if Fallout 76 will improve on some of the flaws with Fallout 4's gameplay. While Fallout 4 improved certain aspects of the game like the VAT system, it improved the gunplay and made it feel more fluid, and also greatly improved the weapon and armor customization that was introduced in New Vegas, Fallout 4 was a step back in some areas when compared to the other games. After all, I think we can agree that Fallout 4's dialogue system is simply inferior to the one that is seen in New Vegas. Also, Fallout 3 and New Vegas had a way of making the player feel evil based on the choices they made in a way that Fallout 4 really doesn't. For example, I felt like I was evil when I blew up Megaton in Fallout 3, or when I sided with the Legion in New Vegas. Now, granted, while the player can be evil in Fallout 4 if they side with the Nuka World gangs, it's not quite the same as in the main campaign. After all, 3 of the 4 endings are essentially the same, and one of the factions can't even be wiped out as they are tied to the game's progression provided you screw up somehow. Now, to be fair to Bethesda, it is worth mentioning that Todd Howard has mentioned in interviews that he's heard fan feedback when it comes to dialogue. And if we look at the Far Harbor DLC from Fallout 4 as an example, that particular DLC has a lot more endings and potential outcomes where you feel like your choices matter. So perhaps this particular worry I have will definitely be corrected in Fallout 76. It's just a matter of being able to see the game to get a feel for what it's going to be like. Now, I will admit that this last thing I'm going to talk about is a little unfair. However, I truly do wonder if this game will actually live up to Fallout New Vegas, where Fallout New Vegas in some ways was almost a complete and total refinement of what was presented in Fallout 3. Granted, New Vegas has its flaws, like its bugs, and Fallout 3 was by no means a bad game or anything, but what made New Vegas the superior game was that it featured increased complexity, some better animations, and overall just refined the groundwork that Bethesda Game Studios did with Fallout 3. I also kind of wonder if this game will be able to truly live up to New Vegas in the sense that this is going to be BattleCry Studios, aka Bethesda Game Studios Austin's first real project. The only other game BattleCry has worked on was 2016's Doom, and that was merely on the multiplayer aspect of that game and not the excellent single-player mode that was the product of id Software. Now, to be fair to BattleCry, they are working with Bethesda Game Studios Maryland, who's basically responsible for some of the best single-player RPGs that came out in the last 15 years. So, who knows what's going to happen here? Fallout 76 could be a great game that surpasses our expectations, or it could be a game that, is not really as good as New Vegas. However, for right now, I think we're just going to have to wait and see. But, alright guys, I think that's going to wrap up this particular video. As always, feel free to let me know some of your concerns and worries for Fallout 76 in the comment section below. Now, I may also make a top 5 reasons to be excited for Fallout 76 video, and let me know if you guys want to see that. But otherwise, like this video if you liked it, click the bell to be notified when I upload more videos, and as always, thank you all so much for supporting the channel, take care, and I'll see y'all in the next one.